Good morning, everyone. This is Casey Wheelis in the WVLT newsroom, wanting to give you an update on the Amber Alert that we have been following since midnight last night. I want to go ahead and show you the photo of who police are looking for. This is 6-year-old Elijah Kensinger. He is from Monroe County, Tennessee, a small area called Tellico Plains in Monroe County. I'm going to show you a map of exactly where he disappeared. You can see this is the Knoxville area, and then zooming in past Madisonville, south of Sweetwater, as crews are looking for this 6-year-old boy. It's a very rural area of East Tennessee. Crews have been out all night long, helicopters and on the ground searching for this little boy. His family says that he went outside to play yesterday with his dog. His dog came back, but he never came back. One of the strange things here that police are looking into is that his dog came back soaking wet. So now they're looking in the area for any bodies of water or anything like that to see if he possibly may have slipped into one of those. But at this point, right now, police believe that he could be in the woods and that he is lost this morning. And so crews from all over have been out since sunrise, really all night long. But the sun coming up is really helping with efforts, and they're hoping to find him. Now, of course, this Amber Alert coming out of Tellico Plains, Tennessee. We do have a live crew out there with us. We do want to get out to Kyle Granger. And Kyle, you actually spoke to Elijah's mother, who is obviously distraught. Does she know what may have happened?
She has been trying to find out that information herself. She told me we were about 7:30 this morning, about 30 seconds away from going live in our CW newscast, and she walked up and said, "Are you live on TV?" And I said, "I will be in about 30 seconds." And she said, "I want to get better pictures out there of Elijah." And she had just driven in from Virginia. She had pictures in her pocket. She had pictures on her phone that she wanted to show us and wanted us to share those pictures because she felt like they were more recent. We give a better idea of what he looked like in case someone were to come across him. Of course, as you mentioned, Casey, she was very distraught, kind of hard to collect thoughts, as you might imagine. A mother or a father who was dealing with the missing 6-year-old at this time. And so she was out here trying to gather information, but also share information to anyone who would talk to her, share those pictures so that they could get a good idea of what he looks like now. Let me just kind of set the scene for you, if you will, Casey. You mentioned that there were lots of search crews out here. We have been seeing people arrive. When I first arrived here this morning, there may have been 10 cars or so here. Now we're probably talking more like 50 to 100 because they have just surrounded this elementary school, which we are at right now, which is the Coker Creek Elementary. You see the school off in the distance there, a rather small remote area of Monroe County. So a very small school, but today flooded with lots of activity. As you can see, we've got cars that have surrounded this entire driveway. All of these folks bringing their SUVs, their side-by-sides, their all-terrain vehicles, all coming out here looking for this missing child, believed to be in this particular area. They gather here at the command post. They go out in teams. They go out searching through the wooded area, different areas that potentially he could have wandered off to. You even see a food truck that is now arriving, perhaps to support the command post efforts here outside of the elementary school. We also have Verizon has brought in one of their mobile towers and set up here to give additional communications equipment in this area. Being remote, sometimes cell signals aren't always the best here, so more support coming in from folks of that nature. Of course, we've got the sheriff's office, we've got EMS, we've got all kinds of fire and rescue crews. We've seen TWRA out here as well, taking part in what's going on in these search efforts through the course of the morning hours. And as I said, more people have been arriving through the course of the morning, and again, more and more people arriving with their big heavy coats on. Of course, it's cold out here. Their big gloves, their big scarves, and just coming out to do all they can to support these search efforts. We've seen folks bringing food by as well. So that is what's going on here at the command post. Of course, a flurry of activity. We're at Coker Creek Elementary School, and that is where where we're kind of surrounded in this particular area, just to kind of set the stage of where we are. We've got a mountainous terrain. We've got some very thick brush and wooded areas that surround us here. Not a lot of activity in terms of big businesses or anything like that. This is just one of those rural communities where people kind of live and kind of keep to themselves. And of course, when a neighbor is in need, they all come out wanting to support in any way that they can. So that's what's going on out here at this particular place in time. Casey, I know you have some of that interview that I did with the mother earlier this morning from our CW broadcast at 7:30 that you can share with folks.
Yeah, Kyle Granger, I'll go ahead. Thank you so much for that update. I'll go ahead and play some of that with you, some of that for you. This is Kyle's interview with Elijah's mother.
We are always outside and adventuring, and honestly feel like the forest would be safe and preferable to other places he could be. So I'm just hoping that we find him here. He's really thin, as most boys that get that growth spurt right there at that age of 6 are. He's really smart.
And you were at home at the time?
He was with his dad at the time. I just got here. Okay. We're not together.
What describe Elijah? Is he an outgoing young boy? Does he like to play outside?
Yes, we're very outdoorsy. Obviously, we live here in Tennessee.
Obviously, it's very cold out here this morning. We were very cold waiting on this.
We are always outside and adventuring, and honestly feel like the forest would be safe and preferable to other places he could be. So I'm just hoping that we find him here.
We hope so too. We're all saying a prayer for you here this morning.
Going to show you again another picture of Elijah. This is the 6-year-old missing out of Tellico Plains, Tennessee, a small community there called Coker Creek. Now, officials with the TBI issued this Amber Alert late last night, just around midnight for Elijah. He went missing around 4 o'clock yesterday. That was the last time he was seen. He said that his family says he went to play in the woods in the backyard with his dog. Soon after, the dog came back wet and without Elijah. Now, there was a little bit of rain yesterday, but officials are now checking all the creeks and bodies of water nearby. Now, one of the detectives we talked to said that the terrain in the area does make it difficult for search crews because it is hilly and it is rural, and cell service is hard to get. So Verizon Wireless, you saw there just from Kyle Granger, has brought in a tower to help with the search efforts. I do want to take you to our interview with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office Deputy Jason.
Entered the woods with his dog to go play, as most 6-year-olds like to do, and he's done several times before, but the dog came out of the woods and he didn't. It's very hilly terrain, a lot of up and down hills, very heavy undergrowth. It's cold. The ground is wet from the rain earlier today, and just dark. Darkness is not our friend.
So obviously that interview done last night right as he disappeared. Those search crews out right now. I'm going to take you live now. If you can see, this is in Monroe County. You can see the TBI is on scene. They have a plane that has been in the air really all night long that has the infrared technology to try to search for this young boy. Now the TBI is out there, also the Monroe County Sheriff's Office you heard from there as well as several agencies from around the area here in East Tennessee. Now we did hear from Elijah's mother, who is distraught, wanting to get out new photos of her son so that people can look for him in case he wandered off, in case someone may have picked him up. At this point, the sheriff's office says that they are looking into all leads, but they believe that right now he may have wandered off into the woods and have gotten lost. It is a very rural area of East Tennessee. We also talked to some people nearby who are helping with the search efforts, who said, yes, this is a dangerous task, so they really only want people who are familiar with this area to come out and help search. And if you do want to help search, they do ask that you call the sheriff's office before you get there.
Unless you live currently or have lived out in the boonies and in the sticks, please stay home. It's hard enough looking for a little boy out here. I don't need to be looking for grown adults.
So Elijah was last seen wearing sneakers, orange sneakers. He was wearing a gray hooded jacket with a red zipper and jeans. If you know anything, you're asked to call 1-800-TBI-FIND. Here's a look at Elijah. He's 6 years old. And we're going to take you back out live to the scene right now. This is what's happening. Search crews are really just having one joint force there at the Coker Creek Elementary School to try to organize this as best they can. But as we mentioned, there are ground crews and there are also air crews right now searching for this little boy. For those of you just joining us, this is an Amber Alert out of Monroe County, Tennessee. That is in East Tennessee near Tellico Plains. This happened, the Amber Alert went out at midnight, but the little boy went missing around 4 o'clock yesterday. Officials say Elijah went to go play in the woods in the backyard with his dog, and soon after, the dog came back wet and without Elijah. Officials are now checking all the creeks and body of water nearby. It is important to note that it did rain during the day in this area, so the dog could have been wet from that, but they are just wanting to cover all their bases. They do have quite a big search crew out there right now, and people, actually, there were so many cars out there this morning of people wanting to help that the Monroe County Sheriff had to kind of ask everyone to contact them before they come out and assist in this search. Just to give you an idea of the terrain and just kind of what it looks like, here is video from our WVLT news drone. You can see overlooking this area. You can see the mountains and just how wooded it is right here. And within those woods, there are creeks and streams and bodies of water. So they are going through and searching every area within a 4-mile radius right here of what they can see and looking for any sign of little Elijah. Now, his mother did talk to our Kyle Granger this morning, and she said that Elijah's familiar with the woods. He plays around here a lot. Their home is right here in this area, and that he's no stranger to the woods. So she is kind of surprised that this is happening, but obviously distraught. Take a listen to what she said.
We are always outside and adventuring, and honestly feel like the forest would be safe and preferable to other places he could be. So I'm just hoping that we find him here.
She did share with us some new photos that she wants us to get out there. She said these are the most recent photos of Elijah.
He's really thin, as most boys that get that growth spurt right there at that age of 6 are. He's really smart.
And you were at home at the time?
He was with his dad at the time. I just got here.
Okay.
We're not together.
What describe Elijah? Is he an outgoing young boy? Does he like to play outside?
Yes, we're very outdoorsy. Obviously, we live here in Tennessee.
Obviously, it's very cold out here this morning. We were very cold waiting on this.
We are always outside and adventuring, and honestly feel like the forest would be safe and preferable to other places he could be. So I'm just hoping that we find him here.
We hope so too. We're all saying a prayer for you here this morning.
Yeah, so we're helping to get out that information as best as we can. And if you know anything, if you've seen anything, you're asked to call 1-800-TBI-FIND to help bring home this little boy. I'm going to take you back live to the search efforts. You can see so many people out there. There's law enforcement officials, search crews, but then there's also people in this community who want to help, and they want to help find this little boy and bring him home. I'm going to pull up this Facebook Live here and look at some of your comments, try to answer some of your comments here. But for those of you joining us, maybe not from around East Tennessee, this is a very rural area, and there are hills and there's a lot of terrain that make it difficult for crews to get in there. But they are doing the best they can to search, even searching from the air using infrared technology as well. And they've been doing that all night long since this Amber Alert went out around midnight. You probably got that alert to your phone if you do live within East Tennessee and within the region. I'm going to show you a map for some of you too, so you can kind of see exactly what we're talking about. Here's Knoxville, but then you go south of Knoxville to the Tellico Plains area, Monroe County, and that is the Coker Creek right there on Highway 68. And we're told that the family's home is just right there, and in the back there's woods. And so he was outside playing with his dog when he didn't return. And the one thing crews have told us is that he was in the backyard with his dog, and soon after, the dog came back wet and without Elijah. So officials are checking all creeks and body of water nearby. It did rain during the day, so that is something to take into account, but they are also just covering all their bases there. And this Amber Alert went out at midnight, but he was last seen, or he went missing around 4 o'clock on Thursday. So right now, there are dozens of people that are looking for this little boy. Taking you back out there to the scene, the live look of the scene. You can see it's also cold here in East Tennessee. This morning, those temperatures were lower than 38 degrees, so that was a concern as well. There was some frost on the ground, and that is a concern for this little boy who is, they believe, lost in the woods this morning. So we are hoping and praying for the best news to come out of this, but you can see there is a huge effort by this community in East Tennessee. They call it the volunteer state. Really, the people here live up to that name. Well, so far, actually, more than 100, we're told, are people in the community assisting with this search. His mother there on scene, we spoke to her earlier this morning. She has been there. She said that little Elijah was with his father, who they are not together, so she was not there at the time that he disappeared. We did talk to a detective last night, right when all of this happened, and he kind of gave us a little bit of information, what they know so far.
Entered the woods with his dog to go play, as most 6-year-olds like to do, and he's done several times before, but the dog came out of the woods and he didn't. It's very hilly terrain, a lot of up and down hills, very heavy undergrowth. It's cold. The ground is wet from the rain earlier today, and just dark. Darkness is not our friend.
Yeah, darkness, not their friend, but now that the light is up, they are out and actively searching for him, all joining here at this elementary school there in Coker Creek. Now, there was also a warning from some people who were helping, some of these officials saying, we want your help, but we want to make sure that everyone stays safe. The last thing they need is to be looking for another person, because this terrain is dangerous if you're not familiar with it.
Unless you live currently or have lived out in the boonies and in the sticks, please stay home. It's hard enough looking for a little boy out here. I don't need to be looking for grown adults.
And then we also talked to some people in the community who were out last night searching for this little boy.
I want to take my blankets and jackets to the poor little fella. I'm sure he's cold.
Yeah. Yes, the cold is definitely a concern for crews out there this morning. Right now, the temperature in that area is 38 degrees, but at one point it was even lower than that. It was freezing this morning, so it is cold out there. There was even frost on the ground for some of our live reports this morning. So that is a terrible concern as crews are searching for this little 6-year-old Elijah. For those of you just joining us, wanting to give you another recap of what happened and what we know, that Amber Alert went out at midnight last night, but he disappeared around 4 o'clock yesterday from his home in the Coker community, not too far from Tellico Plains in Monroe County. You can see here where that is located based off of Knoxville, right there south of Knoxville in the Monroe County area, just off Highway 68. This is a very close-knit community and a very rural area as well. Giving you a look from our WVLT news drone about what that looks like from the sky. So you can see the mountains back there. It is hilly, and then there are woods for miles. Right now they are keeping the search to a 4-mile radius, but they will expand that if they need to. So this is something that a lot of people are keeping their eyes on. And I got a question here in the comments asking about how far away this is from Knoxville, and it's at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half when you get into some of these more rural areas. So we are definitely keeping an eye on that. Some people are asking about his father. We have not been able to get in contact with him. However, we're told that he is cooperating. He has been contacted, and so police are actively talking to him about what happened. So this is something, somebody else asked, how far is this from where Summer Wells went missing? Yeah, Angela, that's a great question. Let me see if I can pull up a map to really give you an idea of what that looks like. You know, obviously, both from East Tennessee, kind of on the different sides of our viewing area. Both very rough terrain areas here in East Tennessee. While I pull that up, I'm going to have you listen to our interview with the mother who spoke to our Kyle Granger this morning.
He's really thin, as most boys that get that growth spurt right there at that age of 6 are. He's really smart.
And you were at home at the time?
He was with his dad at the time. I just got here.
Okay.
We're not together.
What describe Elijah? Is he an outgoing young boy? Does he like to play outside?
Yes,
What's
we're
going
very outdoorsy. Obviously, we live here in Tennessee.
Obviously, it's very cold out here this morning. We were very cold waiting on this.
We are always outside and adventuring, and honestly feel like the forest would be safe and preferable to other places he could be. So I'm just hoping that we find him here.
We hope.
So that is Elijah's mother there. I'm just answering this question. These two cases are not related at all, but people were asking how far this is where Summer Wells went missing. You can see this red dot. That is Rogersville. Then down here is where we are now searching for Elijah. But police are not connecting the two at all. It is just unfortunate that two young children are missing in here in the Knoxville area. Wanting to show you his photo again. Here you see this is Elijah, 6 years old. His mother describing him as a fun boy, that he likes to play outside. That is something that he likes to do. So he's used to that. He is used to being in the woods because it is around his home. So she is shocked that he is missing. She just wants to find him, pleading this morning to please share some of these photos so that people will maybe recognize him if someone maybe picked him up. If anything, call 1-800-TBI-FIND. This Amber Alert went out at midnight last night, but he was reported missing around 4 o'clock. I'm going to take you back out live here to the scene. You can see fire crews. It looks like wildlife officials are out there as well. This is kind of where everyone is the command center for the search for this little boy in Monroe County. This is a very tight-knit community. The volunteers state that these volunteers have come out by the hundreds. At one point this morning, the sheriff told our reporter, our Sam Luther, who was on scene, that he would like people to actually contact the sheriff's office so that they could better direct where they need the help and if they needed more help. Sometimes in situations like this, if you get too many people involved, it can kind of get a little messy. So they just really wanted to make sure that people who are familiar with the area around the terrain were the ones that were helping out, because that is going to help them find this little boy the fastest. Now, obviously, he went missing around 4 o'clock last night, so that only gave them about an hour or two of daylight before the sun went down. And once the sun went down last night, THP and the TBI deployed their air units, and those air units had infrared technology in them, so they could search through the woods to try to find this little boy. And unfortunately, nothing came of that search, so they were hoping that something would come of that, and it didn't. So today the ground crews, as soon as the sun came up, the ground crews went back out. I'm going to show you some of that terrain here from our WVLT news drone. This really gives you a good idea of what it looks like. You can even see there to the right hand of your screen a body of water, as crews said that they were worried because Elijah's dog came back wet. Now Elijah and his dog were playing outside together when Elijah didn't return home. Now it is important to note that it did rain a little bit during the day, but officials said that, they just want to make sure. So they have dive teams, search crews, you name it. Everyone is out there looking for this little boy. Hundreds of people in this dense, hilly, and hard to navigate area. And this is an area too that doesn't have the best cell service. So there are, Verizon Wireless is one of the wireless companies that has come out to the area, putting up a tower to hopefully help with that, because that can make it difficult. Our reporters this morning said that they were using walkie-talkies to try and communicate the best they could as they were going through this wooded area. And this is just off Highway 68 in Monroe County. This is south of Sweetwater, Tellico Plains area. It's called the Coker Creek Community. Just a little bit about Elijah himself. He is 6 years old. Here's a photo of him now. He is 4 foot tall and he only weighs 55 pounds. So the cold, right now it's 38 degrees, you know, here in the Knoxville area. So they're just worried about the cold. There was frost on the ground this morning. It's just difficult to think about that when it comes to anyone, much less a little boy, a 6-year-old boy. So he has brown hair and brown eyes. I'm going to show you some more photos here that his mother shared with us. This is on our WVLT webpage. You can see this is from his mother, Amber. Some photos of him, more recent photos of him. She said that these are the ones that she would like for people to be able to see. So if you recognize him, call 1-800-TBI-FIND. If you have any credible leads at all, they want to hear from you. So we're going to stay on top of this story for you all day long as crews continue to search. This is very much a developing story. We've got crews in the scene, and we also have I'm actually going to take you here. Here is that helicopter. Actually, this just came through our live feed. You can see that looks like one of the sheriff's office's helicopters. So when I talk about those infrared technology, they usually use that at night, but that is something that they have been using all day today as well as they search. So stick with WVLT News for the very latest on this search as we continue to do our best to help find this little boy. Again, you can find all of this information, even his photos, on our WVLT News app and on our Facebook page. If you could share them, that would be a great way to get the word out. Thank you for joining us. I'm Casey Wheelis.